Ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you. It's Elliot Kelly TV. Obviously, I'm your host, Elliot Kelly. Today, we have our second-time guest. He's really the largest influencer in Australia. He's a supermarketeer. Edward Zier is in the house. We had such a phenomenal time on our last interview. We had so many questions come back, loads of emails, loads of posts on LinkedIn. People were sharing on Facebook. People were just all over it. I think we were trending on LinkedIn at one point, weren't we, Edward?
Oh, yeah, it's been great, Elliot. And I've got to say, you and your viewers are just incredible people who are great on every level.
Certainly. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to respond to the questions that our audience have actually put out to us. Are you ready for the challenge?
Well, I was that guy asking why is Elliot so attractive and is Elliot single? Do you mean those ones?
Yeah, that's part of it as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we better answer that. Yeah. We'll talk to you.
That's no problem. We're going to dive right in. What are your 3 favorite tools for doing something your audience cares about as an influencer?
Well, to me, the 3 favorite tools is firstly, my number 1 favorite tool is my mobile phone. In fact, I'll just reach for it now. It's over here. Number 1 is my Samsung S10 mobile phone. I'm actually tethering off it now to do this interview, number 1. Number 2 is, of course, LinkedIn, because I'm a LinkedIn guy. And the third tool as well is also your communication. It's how you talk with people, it's how you interact with people, and it's how you make everything happen and how it all comes together.
Certainly. So we're going to take it back a bit. There must have been a reason why you chose LinkedIn as your platform of choice for the larger percentage of your distribution. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the whole story roughly goes like this. Condensed version is I used to do a lot of work on Facebook, and just being honest with myself and the audience, I never really took off the way I wanted to on Facebook. So a lot of people would say, Ed, you're really popular on Facebook, but I would never have called myself an influencer. Albeit I used to get a lot of clients from Facebook. And I can say this now, because at the time there was only Facebook, there was no LinkedIn in terms of its advanced form. So what the reality was in hindsight was that I don't think I ever really fitted into Facebook. I never ever thought it was a platform. And for a lot of people never felt like Facebook was home for them. It's just that all you had. Make sense?
It does. It does make sense.
Yeah, and when LinkedIn became the powerhouse Microsoft-y platform it is now, it was at the start of this year, being 2019, was, you know what? LinkedIn, it's where our customers is. It's a platform that suits us. Let's pretty much walk away from Facebook and go right into LinkedIn. And it's been one that I wish I did it. Well, it's easy to say, I wish I did it a year earlier, but you know what? We got it at a great time, and I'm really happy with the way it's played out and transformed our lives and our business.
Certainly, thank you. Now I'm going to read this one direct from the comments that we got coming in. I'm not a scripted person, so forgive me one moment. What would you do differently if you were starting in the industry now?
Well, I think what I would do differently is that of course, I'd go straight to LinkedIn. But I'll give you an example. I post at least 10 times a day on LinkedIn, right? So I'm following a full influencer strategy. When I started the start of this year, when I really started the influencer strategy on LinkedIn, I was very sheepish about, I was just doing like a video here and there, a post here and there. I wish I unleashed myself earlier. So now I post 10 times a day. And that's just my own content, not counting shares. And I kick by it. I could post 24 hours a day and I would keep growing and growing and growing. And the thing is that why was I holding myself back? Well, it was just fear of being an influencer, wasn't it? Fear of success. Who knows? I would have just gone in and started posting 10 times a day from day one. That's what I would have done if I started tomorrow.
Thank you for that. I'm going to answer the next question, if you don't mind, Edward. Sheena from Arizona is asking us, which people or books do you read, Elliot? At the moment, I'm reading 3 Feet from Gold, and that's by Greg Reed and Sharon Lecter. So that's a book that I'm reading, and it's all about, in case you want to know, it's all about how people actually give up right before they actually reach right to the moment of truth. All right. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're watching the show, you're clicking share, you're joining Edward on LinkedIn, and you're also not giving up. So don't give up. What other strategies can you advise to our audience as far as getting that traction, launching?
Yeah, well, I think number 1 thing to succeed on, I'll just talk LinkedIn, right, to keep the conversation tight. To really get traction on LinkedIn, the first thing you got to do is have something very clear that you stand for, okay? Like, for example, I might put out, like, for example, yesterday was Sunday in Australia, and we had Mexican, we had pancakes, and I was literally posting food pics on LinkedIn. Now, a lot of people push back and say, come on, Ed, LinkedIn isn't Facebook. I did a post that went viral, and it's just literally a photo of my nachos saying, I love Mexican. And it went viral, right? And a lot of my Mexican clients were like, yeah, this is awesome, right? Now, a lot of people would think that's dumb. However, in the context of my whole strategy, it's very important. So number one is you got to have something unique that you stand for. So for example, in my case, I stand for helping people become master persuaders and influencers, and I'm all about being positive and inspiring people. So you got to have that narrative, which is what you stick to help you break through. That's point one.
All right, certainly. Thank you for that. And where exactly do you put that narrative, Edward? Because we're kind of painting a picture here for our audience. For some persons are listening, some persons are actually watching this show. Where exactly would they put that information?
Well, the narrative is basically the strategy on how you post. So, for example, the backbone of anyone's success on LinkedIn is content. Without content, okay, you can reach out to people, and navigate is really cool, by the way. However, for a lot of people who want to sort of walk that influencer path, the backbone for your success is content. Without content, you don't have anything. There's no show without content. So the narrative is basically the strategy for what you use to create content. So whenever I release a piece of content, that's basically the mental filter do I run through. Is it inspiring? Is it positive? Does it make me look good? And also if it's more education-based content, is it helping people become master persuaders and influencers? These are the main questions I'm always asking people. I'm asking myself before I post content. And it's very important that you don't post random content. You post content with a strong narrative. So over time, the idea you want to create builds up in the minds of your minds of people following you and your target customers.
Certainly. A question that we asked you in our earlier interview, but we feel is very relevant to put as a tag on, just to tie all of this LinkedIn influencer strategy together. Who exactly is your ideal client?
Well, my ideal client are global entrepreneurs across the globe who are great at what they do, great, wonderful people that want to get better at sales, marketing, influence, and persuasion.
Certainly. Thank you. What sort of metrics should the influencer, the aspiring influencer, what sort of metrics should they be monitoring to see their success?
Absolutely. There's two basic metrics. One are the engagement metrics and one are the results metrics. So engagement metrics, for example, ones that I follow is number of views per day. Is like, for example, if I get at least 12,000 views a day, I'm pretty happy, right? That's my basement. So number of views per day. Other metrics can be number of likes and comments. Okay, they can be very good metrics. Then, of course, the back-end metrics are the number of leads that you're getting, the number of conversions, and of course, revenue. So I've got all metrics in place. So, for example, I know this: if I get at least 12,000 views a day, I'll get at least 30 leads a day. And out of those 30 leads, there'll be probably about 4 or 5 really serious prospects.
Sure, thank you. As far as any sort of outside or external advertisement, are you doing any external advertisement campaigns that are driving traffic to your LinkedIn page?
Not so much advertising, but yes, advertising. So for example, I'm based in Sydney, Australia, great city, of course, as you can see by the beautiful Australian forest behind me, which is my good old interview backdrop. I like this part.
Is that green screen?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, it's actually real. See, see. Here's a stick. Here's a stick. Here's a weed I just picked. So it's actually true, right?
Yeah.
There's another stick if you don't believe me. Right? Anyway. Oh, Ed, you're a liar. You've got a green stand. You got a bucket full of props. Okay.
Exactly.
Liar, Ed. No. So what it is that in Sydney, for example, I do several things in Sydney. I encourage you to do this within your own capital city, wherever that is. Number one is I'm part of the business chamber here. So the business chamber is incredible. That gives me a lot of attention in the real world, which translates to LinkedIn and vice versa. And also I've run, I originally got really successful in Sydney running meetups. So, you know, meetup.com, the global events platform, these days I run about 2 meetups a month in Sydney. That's also helped me break through and also build my LinkedIn profile. So actually running meetups in town has helped me become an influencer on LinkedIn. It's been great. The whole ecosystem kind of feeds each other.
Certainly. Are there any questions that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, Edward?
I just think the main questions is, Edward, do you think I'm attractive? Do you think I'm a hot guy? You should have asked me stuff like that. But
Edward, do you think I'm a hot guy?
Yes, I do. Don't let anyone on LinkedIn find out.
We're going to take another question. This one is directly from the Bahamas, and this is actually Cheryl. She's been
Oh, the Bahamas. Cheryl, just to let you know, we're all jealous of you, Cheryl.
I am. It's freezing cold here in England as well, so I am jealous. All right. She wants to know what you've been doing campaigns for quite a while now. Which time frames have you seen to produce the better results as far as a 30-day campaign, maybe a 60-day campaign, or a 90-day campaign? Which campaign length has given you the best results?
Definitely 90 days, but this depends on your strategy though. So it depends what kind of strategy. Like I was actually talking to one of my friends. It's right as we're doing this. It was just Black Friday over the weekend.
What did you say about me?
Right? No, it is. Sounds a bit racist, doesn't it? It's non-white Friday. No, so Black Friday actually does sound racist. Anyway, Black Friday meaning the sales special, and not to do with race or ethnicity. Funny. For example, one of my friends, she made 13 grand over it in terms of sales, right? Nice lady. Congratulations to it. So it depends on your strategy. Some people have really good promo strategies. So for example, they'll do a massive promo of a certain course or a program and they'll make $50,000. Whereas you'll get people who are more like me and a lot of YouTubers especially, who our strategy is more longer term and ongoing. So for example, a lot of my content is longer term. So my strategy generally does not make you money within the first month or two, but you start kicking butt after about 90 days. So it depends on the type of strategy. Most influencer strategies take about a good 3 to 6 months until the sales results kick in.
Thank you so much for that. And you see, guys, I'm still taking notes. So if you're there and you don't have your pen and your paper, that's your bad, okay? Got to take the notes. All right. We have about 2 or 3 more questions for you. We know you're extremely busy, but we're going to try and squeeze as much information from you as possible. All right. And when we're looking at our actual campaign, when you're designing that campaign, what sort of, should we sit down with a focus group? Should we speak with other influencers? Should we try and wing it? How did you get so seasoned in the whole marketing campaign aspect of it?
Well, I'll focus on this one aspect to answer this question. And I do this every day, right? In fact, after this, I'm actually off to the gym and I'm going to do this all morning, right? Now, what's very important is that you analyze your previous days of content. So what happens is that, so yesterday I did a marathon. I would have been sent at least 20,000 times yesterday on LinkedIn. I did a marathon job of posting, which I'm quite happy with.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do probably in a few hours after I have coffee and go to the gym and all that, is I'm actually going to go back through my whole content of yesterday and look at the winners and losers. So for example, I had a few posts go viral yesterday and I have a few posts go nowhere. Now, obviously, you know where I'm going here. Of the viral posts, what made them go viral? Of the posts that were like mediocre or just didn't go anywhere, why was that? And basically, because you do that every day, you really get smart in your content. But here's the point. I could do the biggest focus group ever and create this 90-day program. But if I'm not actually looking at my content every day to see how it's faring, it's not going to work out.
Sure. Thank you for that. You're looking at the plan, do, review, and I do really like that. I evaluate that myself. Persons, if you're wondering if I'm doing this stuff as well. And what I find with the plan, do, and review, it gives you what works and what doesn't work. And I just have this simple philosophy. I try to do more of what works and less of what doesn't, and less of what doesn't work. I guess that leads us to our next question. What has been your favorite campaign to date and most successful by any particular metric?
Yeah, overall, my most successful campaign has been running live webinars. So for example, every Monday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, I run a live webinar, which is recorded. So if someone can't make the time, it doesn't matter. So running live webinars and filling them on a daily basis has been one of the most successful things ever, because it's the live webinars that actually make you really stand out, but also gives a lot of value too. So I would say live webinars are an incredible strategy. So I promote my live webinars every day. I run them every week, and it's such a great part of your sales funnel to bring people into your ecosystem.
Thank you so much. We asked this question in our last interview as well. I think it's very important that we bring up some of the key points from that. How important is value or contributing value to your client as an influencer?
Oh, that's the basis of content, because at the end of the day, you can only promote yourself so much saying buy my stuff. the more value you give on a daily basis is simply the way it goes. So, for example, I spend quite a bit of time more as an end user on YouTube. And I actually study a lot of influencers on YouTube. And I've taken a lot of that logic into LinkedIn. It's actually worked quite well. Not all of it, but a lot of the things I've learned from LinkedIn have worked beautifully on YouTube. Not all of it, but core parts of it. And what I've really learned is the people that I follow on YouTube and the people that I'm very grateful to have follow me on LinkedIn, ultimately, they're interested in what I have to say. They like my ideas, be it it's me giving a direct marketing or business or sales tip, or be it just me being positive or funny or inspirational. And it's funny, and going back to your earlier point, Elliot, and to our fans, what I'm very keen on listening for is what do people say? So every day when I go back through my previous posts, I'm reading all the comments, right? And the comments tell you what people are after. Ed, this is inspirational. Ed, thank you for that LinkedIn tip. What people are telling you what they want. And the more you give them of what they want is the more your engagement takes off. And then it becomes that feedback loop. The more you give people what you want, the more fans you get, the more they tell you what you want, and you just do that, which is exactly what I'm doing, which I'm very grateful for.
Thank you very much. Just to piggyback on what Edward is sharing there, one of the strategies that I employ, and this is not in any sense of the word, I'm not suggesting to copy anyone's work, but what you can do is you can follow some of the major publications and to see where their direction is, what strategies they're employing. Take into consideration now, these are persons with very, very huge pockets. They have the budget there to go and do some of the research that, and I'm not knocking you, audience, listener, or viewer, you may not necessarily have that sort of research budget. So if they've gone out and they've seen that married couples are the focus, or cats are the focus, or apples or oranges are the focus, then it stands to reason that you should be pointing, if you're interested in more traffic, you should be pointing your content and trying to align your content with what they're sharing. This not only puts you in a place of authority as the expert in your area, but it gives you a chance to add more value to more people. And that's what we're doing it for. You know, if you're in this business, like Ed would say, there's only so much attractiveness. You know, I could say I'm handsome, I'm good looking, I'm built or whatever all day. After a while,
which you are, Elliot, which you are.
After a while, these people are going to vote with their finger and click delete on you, you know? And what I've found I've learned a lot from persons like Edward, persons like Grant Cardone, persons like Brian Tracy, persons like John C. Maxwell, the list goes on. But what I've found is when you add value and you're actually trying to be a professional, you know, you endeavor to be a professional, learn as much as possible about your area, it's fulfilling in itself. And I'm going to say that twice. It's fulfilling in itself. The money at that point it's just a byproduct. The money at that point is just a byproduct. So it's really nice if you take time. Go on, Edward.
Well, if I could just jump in with one thing. You mentioned before, like big companies with research and that sort of thing. That's not necessarily, I would have agreed with you 5 years ago. That's not necessarily true anymore. And I'll use an example.
Yeah.
Especially in North America and Australia too, for that matter, and also the UK. You're getting a massive decline of the mass media, right? I don't know if you know that, but a lot of news networks are having a massive decline in their viewership right now because it's independent creators like you and me and people on YouTube and LinkedIn that are taking their share. So once a world that was dominated by, let's say, three or four mass media companies, it's being replaced by the network society by a bunch of people like us, because what they've actually found is that you get a lot of big companies that do their research, but they'll produce very sausage machine type of content.
Sure.
Whereas you can have a guy literally in his kitchen with his webcam on YouTube racking up millions of viewers because they're saying cool, edgy, non-establishment stuff, which really stands out. So the big companies, so-called, aren't actually having the easiest time when it comes to content.
Sure, I can definitely bend to that argument. What we're offering here is to have that discretion. You want to find out what the views are there. It's like when you're driving, you know, you have a rearview mirror that's very, very tiny. You have a windshield in front of you that's very, very large. Are you going to say then that because the rearview mirror is tiny, you're not going to look in it? And because the front windshield is large, you're only going to focus on that direction and ignore the side mirrors as well? So Edward and I are suggesting that you use your discretion. You use all of these resources, whether it's the left side mirror, the right side mirror. None of them on their own will give you the direction that you actually need as the professional. Now, if you want to wing it and just go with a side mirror, then guaranteed you're going to crash into something. If you want to wing it, and just look at the past, your divorce or the bills or something of that nature, then again, you're going to crash. So you want to use your discretion. And again, you want to be a professional in your space. What's your favorite animal, Edward?
I'm a cat guy, total cat guy.
You're a cat guy. And what sort of response? Because I know on YouTube, the cats do very well. In your strategy, what sort of
LinkedIn identical. I have done cat videos on LinkedIn, and cats do great on LinkedIn. I can promise you that.
Certainly. What's your biggest failure to date, Edward?
My biggest failure to date would be, you know what it is? I'm going to say not getting into LinkedIn as early as I could have. I'm going to say that's my biggest failure. The only thing I'm really regretting right now is I wish I jumped into LinkedIn a year earlier. In the current form that I'm doing, pardon me, I wish I jumped in a year earlier. However, there's a pushback for that I'll give you. In all honesty, I wasn't ready to do it then. To be an influencer, it takes a lot of maturity and takes a lot of skill, focus, and discipline. And to be honest with you, I just didn't have it then. I obviously do have it now. So biggest failure, I wish I jumped into LinkedIn a year earlier, the way I'm doing it now.
As far as time management, I would imagine that the life of an influencer such as yourself would be completely hectic. Tell us some tips. Give us 2 or 3 tips that our audience can use to manage their time.
Well, actually, once you get going, the actual time gets a lot easier, to be honest with you. So it's nowhere near as difficult for me now as it used to be. It's getting a lot easier and a lot simpler. But what it is that making use of your mobile phone is very important. So I always like to make massive use of my mobile phone. That's very important. To make use of your mobile phone. But also I get through my messages. The biggest challenge of being an influencer is actually dealing with all the personal messages you get. That is the biggest challenge by a country mile. So trying to get them done as quickly as possible, that's one of the main things that I deal with.
Certainly. That's no problem. What does the future have for Edward?
Yeah, well, for me, the future is definitely where we're taking things is definitely reaching more people. We went global in our business a few months ago, which is an absolute honor. Got quite a few clients from the UK.
Congratulations.
And so for us, that's great. And so for us is driving that global influencer gravy train and getting bigger on LinkedIn, working closer with LinkedIn and Microsoft. And also as well, in terms of a local level, running better local events as well. So for me, the whole global influencer, that's the way we're taking it and the way we absolutely love it.
Certainly. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time to be with us. You have some really amazing people in your network that have obviously extended themselves to me through you, and that's something that I do not take for granted. So I always show that appreciation, public and in private. So thank you, Edward, for your team back there in Australia.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you to our viewers. Really appreciate you. You're all incredible.
One thing before you go, a lot of persons have asked how they can be a part of your webinars. Can you either share the link with us or tell us the information so that they can get in contact with your webinar?
Obviously, the best thing to do is for wonderful people watching, just add me and send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll send you a link. And what happens is once you sign up to our webinars, you'll then be in our database for future announcements.
We really appreciate your time. We're looking for great things from you and your team. Have an excellent day. You keep it awesome.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the girl Wendy, Miss What You Know About It from the Bahamas, and you are watching Elliot Kelly TV.